This is Megan McDuffie, and you are listening to the Nothing Shocking podcast.
Want to know what's going on in the world of music? Then tune in to the Nothing Shocking podcast, a non-genre based, all ages friendly rock and roll program. Join us weekly for interviews with all your favorite rock stars from the mainstream to the underground. You can find us at nothingshocking.libsyn.com or anywhere you download podcasts.
We're putting the band back together.
The numbers all go to 11.
I'm talking about bands that rock. Led Zeppelin. What about Sabbath? AC/DC. Motorhead.
Does that mean it's louder? Isn't it any louder?
Well, it's one louder, isn't it?
We're not worthy! We're not worthy!
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
I get up off the ground and raise my head. Days like this, think I should be dead. One for Satan, two for me. Let's cheat the devil, it's fun, don't you agree?
Welcome to the Nothing Shocking podcast. I'm your co-host, Jeff Untied, and with me in Dog Bowl's studio is
Coach Nez.
You can find the Nothing Shocking podcast on Libsyn or any podcatchers. Like our Facebook page or follow us on X at No Shock Pod.
You can also find the Nothing Shocking podcast on Rock Rage Radio every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Central Time. Our sponsor is Big Strix Vinyl Records and Sports Cards, located in Rock Island, Illinois. New, vintage, and previously owned. You can find it at Big Strix. We would like to thank the Hong Kong Sleepover for allowing us to use their music for our intro and bumper ending. Tonight's guest is Megan McDuffie.
She's got a new single, Salvation, came out this year, and she's working on a follow-up album to her debut, Crimson Legacy.
Yeah, hey, let's get to that interview.
All right, good night.
Good night. Megan, welcome to the Nothing Shocking podcast. I'd like to introduce you, my co-host, Jeff Untied.
Megan, thanks for joining us tonight.
I'm stoked to be here.
Hey, we're excited to have you. So let's get right into this. Recently, you returned from a 42-date tour opening for Dance with the Dead and Magic Sword. Can you give our listeners a little bit more of an insight of this whole experience and everything that went involved with it?
Oh, man. Yeah. So right off the bat, this was my first tour since I've been basically a studio musician for the past 14 years and running a production business. Mm-hmm. So this opportunity presented itself it was a random kismet type thing.
Yeah.
Our audiences are very much intertwined, so it made a lot of sense. And yeah, they basically had 12 spots on a giant bus, and they were like, all right, we've got 11 slots filled. Who can we find that, is a solo act, but that fits our vibe? And they reached out to me, and it was a crazy whirlwind experience. And I got basically a new family out of it and got to meet people in real life. And it was just immense in many ways.
Fantastic. Well, I guess, talk a little bit about what, when you're preparing for this first upcoming tour. Talk a little bit more about like your preparation for, picking songs that you're going to use, and maybe did you practice or do any practice events beforehand?
Oh, absolutely. I practiced my butt off. I didn't want to go on stage and be like, what am I doing? So I didn't. Well, I had to basically do a ton of research and investment in gear that could go on the road with me, because a lot of my studio stuff had to stay put and was not well suited for that type of thing. So yeah, it was like almost learning a new skill in a way. Had to learn my new instruments, program them, figure out my set list, and kind of how I went about that was that I knew I had 30 minutes to fill. So picked and choose my favorite songs of late, that I also felt like would obviously both fit into that 30-minute time slot and be high enough energy to where, well, basically like kind of fit in with the vibe of Dance with the Dead and Magic Sword, who are both pretty upbeat and energetic in their music. So I didn't want anything too sleepy. So that really guided me, because like I wanted it to be some of my favorites, but then the time constraint and both the energy, or time constraint and the energy requirements, definitely helped filter that in. And yeah, I set everything up like a little temporary stage in my office and just practiced the hell out of it.
Well, you touched upon your set list, but let's say it's a 42-date gig. Did you deviate from your set list at all, switch things around, or did you keep things very streamlined and structured from your original thought process? Okay, this is what the songs are going to be for the 30-minute time frame that we have. How did it work for you?
So yeah, initially one of the songs was an instrumental where I would be performing a pole dance routine. And so I kind of more heavily practiced that version of the set list, but I also had a backup song in case some of the venues wouldn't allow or wouldn't fit a temporary pole. And literally 2 days before leaving for this tour, they were like, yeah, so the pole's not going to work at all. So it's very fortunate that I had a backup song, and the backup song ended up going on the road, no pole, and I kept that backup set list through the entire 42 show run.
Oh, so cool. I guess with this being your very first tour, as you had stated, I guess what did you learn from this experience opposed to what's going to transpire for you in the future for another tour? Are there some things that you're going to change as far as like, hey, that I could do something better here, or I'm going to eliminate something that I thought was a good idea that wasn't? Can you elaborate?
Sure. Yeah. Over the course of the tour, gear-wise, I fine-tuned the vocal processing unit that I brought with me. It's called a Voice Live 3 Extreme. It's basically a really cool, like, multi-tool for either voice or guitar. It's a glorified looper, but also has like really cool built-in effects and pitch correction on the fly, that kind of thing. But since every venue is set up completely differently, every front of house person does things differently, I really had to work with the venue folk to dial in a vocal sound that would best fit the space and not give everything a horrible feedback. But it took like maybe half the run of the whole tour to really dial in a sound that would best translate to multiple venues. So it started out super wet and affected, and that would give us problems usually. So it was kind of learning to pare it down more and more until I had a sound that would be very widely applicable things that I learned. And one amazing thing that I learned is that people freaking love merch.
Yes, yes.
I was honestly surprised just how much merch I sold. I initially wasn't even going to take any. And I'm so glad the guys convinced me. They're like, no, you have to take merch. Trust us. And so I had to do 3 restocks during the course of the tour. So, I mean, yeah, stuff sold like hotcakes. It was amazing.
That's so cool.
Oh, yeah. Is there a certain company that you use to get your merch, either local or nationwide?
Yeah, I have been using the t-shirt company Printful for a while. They're really great because they have an integration with Spotify and Shopify. I guess I should reverse those. Shopify and then into Spotify. And they're basically a print on demand. So I don't have to store any inventory, which is great. And it worked out on the road too. I could just order, to a venue that was ahead of us in the schedule. I also use a company called Trepstar. They do a very similar thing, but with CDs.
Very nice. Well,
yeah.
Speaking of that, you are planning a new album here later in 2026. Can you talk a little bit more about when's the anticipated release date and what can your fans expect?
Oh, 2026 is very, very ambitious of a timeline. I would love to have an album coming out in the fall. But just the way things have been lining up schedule-wise, it's more likely going to be spring of 27.
Oh, okay.
But I've been chipping away at it. I was poking along before the tour and now kind of getting back into it. And what can people expect? More of my vibey, dark, cinematic, synth-laden, grimy stuff. It's awesome. Just going to be a mush of like cyberpunk and vampire club vibes, because that's just the universe I live in.
Yeah. Well, we see so many times, and we've spoke to so many artists that have taken chances and wandered outside their genre that has made them who they are. Have you ever felt tempted to kind of walk on the outside of what you're known for and experiment in some other type of genre of music?
All the time. I have to stop myself from creating gazillion side projects at any given moment. And it's funny you mentioned that, because for a while I was a bit worried that people of my video game soundtracks wouldn't necessarily vibe with the artist leaning stuff and vice versa, because a lot of the time my genres kind of go all over the place, especially on a soundtrack. Yeah. But it hasn't hindered me. I think everything under the Megan umbrella seems to be working. And I did take a little bit of a chance on my second album, especially compared to my first. I think people were expecting a little more synthwave and a little less dark, like electro rock. Mm-hmm. Because it was a heavier, edgier sound, guitars on more than half the tracks, which was very unlike me. But I guess it was still cohesive in my universe because of my voice. I feel like that just really sort of is a continuing thread through everything. So maybe it wasn't a huge departure.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah.
Well, is the second album, is that Crimson Legacy?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that great album. Can you talk a little bit about the creation of that? Did you in today's world, you can, people have home studios. Did you record from your own? You kind of said you had your own production company, or did you? I guess, how did it work?
Yeah, everything was done in my home studio for that album, save for a couple collaborators who maybe offered vocals or additional guitar or additional production on that. But yeah, everything was done here at home, and I outsourced the mastering, but that's about it. As far as creatively, yeah, I wanted to go darker, edgier. I'm a huge fan of rock and metal, and I wanted just, some darker influence on that one. I love how it came out.
It was fantastic. Let's talk about your creativity. And I guess, from the beginning of your career, talk about the maturity of your songwriting as opposed to where you are now, opposed to when it all started for you.
Oh gosh. Yeah. It's definitely been a journey. Let's see. It's like hard to remember the beginning because it's such a slow, gradual transition, right? But yeah, I feel like growing up with classical and jazz training, I was always very melodically inclined, and pretty good at arrangement. And my undergrad and graduate work really helped cement that. But what I really kind of struggled's a very potent word. Maybe just what I could have improved on more earlier was lyrics. I don't know when I feel like I got good at lyrics or what shifted that. I think I just needed to do more and more of it. It didn't come as easily. I feel like it's a lot easier to be cheesy with your lyrics than you would expect. At least in my case, it felt like that. But yeah, the other thing that I have improved upon greatly is mixing. That was another thing that was like, okay, I have the compositional tools that I want cemented in my body, but the mixing was a stronger part of the journey. And again, it was just like repetition, checking with peers, getting people who I thought were like, had a really solid commercial sound to critique and give me feedback, and just learning and growing from there.
We spoke to so many artists over the years since the COVID pandemic broke out, where they found the COVID pandemic gave them a renaissance in their creativity. Other artists told us it was a horrible, songwriter's block moment for them. For you, during those times of the COVID pandemic, did you find it to be inspirational, or did you find to have writer's block?
I feel super blessed to have had some amazing projects during COVID, because the video game industry was going strong, and that is where main focus has lied for a very long time. So I had a lot of direction, and I am also super fortunate in that writer's block is extremely rare for me. I will literally be triggered by a pretty flower, a piece of art. Like if I see a cool movie and just like want to screenshot a certain frame from that movie, I find inspiration everywhere. So yeah, COVID, super lucky. And I feel almost guilty saying that it didn't really affect me creatively at all. I was just going strong.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah.
Well, I wanted to talk about, I think, one of the newest singles you had out there, 2026, was Salvation. Great track.
Thank you.
Is that something that is going to be on the new album?
I believe so, yes.
I guess give us a little story behind that.
Maybe elaborate on the track a little bit more.
Sure, yeah. It started very uncreatively. Me just wanting to have a cool track out while touring to give somebody, or to give the people, something to sink their teeth into. Yeah. And I was kind of cramming it in. Like my husband kept coming in and being like, are you sure you want to like release another track right now while you're prepping for this tour and you're trying to button up all this client work? And anyway, I forged ahead. I started the track 3 different times, which doesn't sound like a lot, but for me, that's quite a few times. I just like kept trying to do, I don't know, too much maybe. Both of the sort of slices that I have so far, I did keep them because they might become other songs, but I was just not seeing the vision. I would work on a version and get stuck. And then I would start something new and work on that and then get stuck. And the third time I started over is when Salvation started taking shape. I just got a bass line going and a drum groove, and that's usually how I start things. I find that even just finding like a tasty bass synth, I'll be able to kind of go from there. I didn't even intend for it to have the lyrical themes that it did, but I don't know, that one, it just kind of came out of nothing. I find often that the tracks that I produce that flow out the easiest often come out the best because I'm not trying very hard. They just, it's like I'm channeling from somewhere else. It ended up being super cinematic, and so the lyrics I felt like needed to match that cinematic vibe.
Yeah, that was one of my favorites.
Well, first and foremost, you're known for your work in scoring video games, in trailers and film. And it's always fascinating to me when we interview artists that have gone that direction. Can you talk a little bit more about your journey into the scoring, I guess, into video game and TV and film and what have you? Because let's face it, it's most artists get into it to record albums and play live and all these other things. And other artists say, hey, I boy, this is making me money, and as long as it's making me money, I can do this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me, I started in high school. Well, let's go back even farther. I always knew I was going to do music professionally. I didn't quite know what trajectory it would take. But in college, I had an epiphany. I was a vocal undergrad for a while, 2 years, and then decided that opera was not the course that I wanted to stay. Since that was the classical application. That's what the vocal major was. And I'm like, that's cool, but that's not going to be what I end up doing. And I've always loved soundtracks. I kind of had this moment in a film scoring class, or it was a film music appreciation and deconstruction type class, that I was like, oh, obviously, okay, I understand now. I need to go into film scoring. So undergrad was film scoring. I did the electronic music minor because I've always liked to produce as well. And then did my graduate studies in orchestration for film and TV. So it was always just kind of one of those things that hit me on the side of the head, like, it was an aha moment. I almost sort of like let the artist thing take a back seat. That was not even really in my life plan. I really just wanted to write music for film and TV. And then video games was like an offshoot of that when the film thing wasn't quite happening as fast as I wanted it. I was like, okay, might as well try games also. Mm-hmm. And that's really what took off. And so that is where I applied my focus. It's just kind of been in the more recent years where I forgot that I was a classical vocalist and was like, oh, heck, I should be offering this service to other producers because not everybody's a singer. And so that kind of reawakened the desire to also do an artist project. So I just like to do a lot of things.
That's so cool. Yeah, absolutely.
I was just going to ask you about some of your collaborations. I know some of your tracks are with Alex Davidson, and I've seen some other names. But can you talk a little bit about those your collaboration with other artists?
Sure. Yeah. Like I just recently said, I kind of had this secondary epiphany of like, oh heck, I should be offering my voice to people, and I feel like maybe that was around 2018 where I really started to just kind of reach out to independent artists that I liked their sound. And Alex was one of them early on. He had just kind of come off of releasing Akuma, which was like his big flagship, release. And I was like, this is dope. Let me reach out to him, see if he wants to collab in the future. And the rest is history. We just basically work really well together. He's a super chill guy, and our styles just, we mesh really well, and he's a really fun person to work with. So that has been a lasting friendship, which has been awesome. Around that same time, 2018, 2019, really just as soon as I started offering vocal services to synthwave producers, synth pop, just kind of related genres, people just started kind of flooding my inbox. Like once I opened that up, people were like, oh, can you do this? Can you do this? And I basically just said yes to everything.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, you have noted that Depeche Mode was a big influence on your creativity, I should say. And it's kind of funny that you noted Depeche Mode as being influence on you. Is that me growing up as a kid, I was always a listener of Def Leppard and Genesis and the Police in the early middle 80s. And when I heard a Depeche Mode Black Celebration, the album for the first time, it changed the way I listen to music even to this day. But can you talk a little bit more about the influence that David Gahan vocals did for you, I guess, and maybe Martin Gore's orchestration of the songwriting and creativity behind it all?
Yeah, so I can remember distinctly the first time I heard Depeche Mode. It was in early high school. I was probably about 14 or 15. My childhood friend who lived like 8 houses away from me, we were always at each other's houses. She was just showing me some music she had discovered recently, and she put on Blasphemous Rumors. And I was like, oh my God, what is this? This is like nothing I've ever heard before.
Yeah.
And I just immediately felt so drawn to it, and I had to get everything I possibly could from Depeche Mode after that. And yeah, I don't know what it is specifically about it, but something about the combo of Dave Gaughan's vocal technique and Martin Gore's melodic writing, like Gore's melody and chord sensibilities are just so freaking cool.
They are.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it just sort of seeped into my blood from that point on. And I think I just really admired the fact that it was so melodic and, like, was commercially viable, but also musically interesting, which is a hard line to ride.
And they became much more interesting when they got a little darker in their creativity. Would you agree?
I would, yes. I do love some of those early singles. They're just kind of fun and ridiculous. But yeah, I would say Black Celebration is fantastic. Music for the Masses, really good. Violator, of course. I love them all.
Yeah, fantastic.
Let's see here. I was going to ask you about the River City Girls 2 soundtrack.
Sure.
Yeah, really cool soundtrack. Can you talk, I guess, a little bit about, how that, the success of that has maybe changed you a little bit?
Yeah, so the first River City back in 2019 was huge for me in many respects. Yeah. It was the biggest project both in terms of scope and visibility that I had ever done at that point. I did 60 pieces of music for that first game.
That's awesome.
Over the course of 9 months. Like, it was just major. And the success of that game still to this day is doing things for me. People will discover it and like finally play it. It's been on their wish list for 7 years and they're like, oh my God. And then they reach out to me about the soundtrack. It's pretty wild. I've gotten a bunch of other work specifically from that game as well. So it was just a huge boon to my career. And of course, when they announced the sequel, they saw how well my soundtrack did for the first one and sort of establishing the sound of that series. So they came back to me, which was amazing. Love working with that studio. I've done a lot for them since, actually. But yeah, the second game, I got to be even a little more creative because there were a lot more different genres that were thrown at me. Like, they're like, okay, this one's going to be big band jazz. This one's going to be electro. Yeah. This one is going to be like weird Aphex Twin techno stuff. And so that was a really, really fun creative challenge to arrange in a bunch of different genres while keeping a cohesion.
Very good. You've co-wrote and sung with other electronic producers such as Craig Connolly, Alex, just to name a few. Can you compare collaborating with other producers to that of you working as a solo artist? Do you have a preference?
I don't have a preference. I think they are very different. I really like the creativity, or I really like just how when working with a collaborator, it's often that they will do something that I wouldn't necessarily have thought of. And I really love that. It like we kind of spitball off each other in ways that, either one of us wouldn't have been able to do by ourselves. So I really love that process. That said, working on my own thing where I have full creative control and can just, sky's the limit, right? I can do whatever the frick I want. That is also really fun. So I don't have a preference because I feel like they're super different.
Very good.
Yeah. Well, I guess in today's digital format, almost every single that you put out has to have a unique cover to try to grab people's attention, as well as the album covers. Can you talk a little bit about your approach to that? Is there, do you work with a specific artist, or do you work with multiple artists, or how does it work for you?
In the last couple years, it's probably been about 2.5, maybe 3 years at this point. I found an artist randomly on Instagram. I don't even remember how I found her, but I was immediately caught by her style and her subject matter. She does like really dark, ethereal, digital, I guess, art, mostly depicting women, like kind of goddess figures. I don't know. I was just really, really into her art, and it was very dark and spooky, but also beautiful. And that, I feel like, are the adjectives that I want people to associate with my music. So I reached out to her, and she's been doing my single art very consistently, almost every month, really, for the past 2.5 to 3 years. And I will continue to hire her. She is just, her style fits so well with my sound. On my major album releases, so not the singles, but the album covers, I've done pictures of myself because I feel like that just fits a little bit better. Yeah. I don't know if the next album will continue that trend or not. That is to be determined.
Yeah. We got one last question for you, and we'll leave you alone for the evening. So since we're halfway through 2026, and you kind of already told us that your next solo album is probably going to be more likely to be released in 2027, but this second half of 2026, what can we expect out of you? What do you got cooking? I
have been cooking quite a bit. Obviously, the tour was a huge chunk of my energy. I've also been working on a game soundtrack for the game Streets of Rogue 2 for the past 3 years. And actually, that will be wrapping up really soon. I only have about 4 pieces of music left. And I believe that will be coming out. The whole game will be coming out this year. People have been waiting for that one for a while. So I'm excited to kind of wrap that up. It's been an amazing project. So that you can expect most likely this year. And I just did a few pieces of music and a theme song for a new Barbie game, which was just recently out. Yeah, I had so much fun. It was like the research was watching old Barbie commercials and my nostalgia meter was like completely maxed out. So yeah, expect Barbie Rewind. I think it comes out next month or maybe in a couple months. Should be really cute. Very like, I think it's mostly Super Nintendo and onward that they've sort of bundled those old games into one new game, which is pretty cool. Let's see, what else? I will be releasing a few other singles. I have a 9 Inch Nails cover that I'm working on now. Yeah, I have another collab coming out in a couple weeks with another producer called Destroyer. That's a cool one. We worked on that sometime last year, and he's finally releasing it. I feel like I'm forgetting stuff, but yeah, that's the gist.
That's a lot.
Yeah. I'm a fan of your covers. Your approach to, making them sound more unique, or not, not just copying the original, but you have your own approach to it is great.
Yeah, making it your own. You do a fantastic job.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, is there anything that we left off tonight that you would like to plug or promote?
I don't think so. Just find me on all the things and give me a listen.
Fantastic. Well, this is how things are going to work out. Once Jeff, the editing wizard over here, gets everything all cleared up, we'll send you the link. Thank you so much for your participation. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's been fun.
Megan, thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you tonight.
Absolutely. Thanks again, guys.
Take care.
Right, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good one.
from you.